Hello, welcome to another segment of Smoke Signals. I'm your host for today's show, Lieutenant Chris Taylor of LaGrange Fire Department. On today's show, we will have Chief of Operations Chris Smith of the LaGrange Fire Department and City of LaGrange City Manager Tom Hall to discuss topics concerning the LaGrange Fire Department and the City of LaGrange. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Today we have with us LaGrange City Manager Tom Hall and LaGrange Fire Chief of Operations Chris Smith. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, and we're glad to have you here on the show today on Smoke Signals. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you all about several topics, and we do have several topics that we're going to discuss today. But before we get into that, we'd like to get a little background information about the two of you. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your roles and responsibilities. We'll start with you first, Tom.
Sure. I've been the city manager here in LaGrange for about the last 17 years. A role that I thoroughly enjoy. Basically, the responsibility is to oversee the day-to-day operations of the city, and look after the financial affairs of the city, as well as be responsive to the mayor and council on policy and legislative issues. Prior to that, I was the assistant city manager, and one of the things I'm real glad to be on your show today, because I actually spent some time as a fire chief for about 7 months. Chris will remember that.
All right.
So I've been in LaGrange basically for about 23 out of the last 20, or 20. About 20 out of the last 23 years, so I've been around for quite a while.
Right, so you're a great resource to have here in the city.
I hope so.
All right, Chief.
I was born and raised here in LaGrange, so I've been here my entire life. I've been with the fire department for 33 years. Worked all the way from, I was hired in as a dispatcher in the late 70s and worked my way up through the line, through suppression, and now into the position I'm at as the Chief of Operations. My duties are the daily operation of the fire department as it relates to fire prevention, fire education, training, and the overall operations of the department's suppression side. Been a lot of changes, and we see a lot of changes in store for us for the future.
Okay, that's great. Well, it's good to have, like I said, to have you all here again today. A lot of experience here in the city, and hopefully, I'll be able to gain some of that wisdom from you all throughout my career. Now, we have several topics that we're going to discuss today. First one, we want to talk about just the fire department, and then we're going to get into the city per se. But one of the things I want to ask is, Chief Smith, what accomplishments have been made by the LaGrange Fire Department in the last 10 or 20 years? The
last 10 or 20 years, you've seen a lot of changes in the way the fire service is structured, the way the fire service operates. Mm-hmm. We've seen changes in personnel. As you well know, being as a member of the department, we've seen a different group of people come into the department now. They're more highly educated, more highly motivated, and they're actually do us a better job as we go down the line. They're coming in to learn with a learning capacity. Okay. You're seeing technology has changed in the past 10 to 20 years. 20 years ago, we had one computer.
Yeah.
That one computer has evolved to every station's got a computer, and laptops, and going into mobile computerization. Our records management are all on computers. We have actually ease of operation. The old days of a lot of paper filing, are gone, and we've gone to the upgraded technology. Radio system has changed completely from the old VHF with the large, used to call the old brick radio in our hands.
Right, I remember having those.
to the new technology now with the 800 meg and smaller VHF channels and things like that. So there's been a lot of technology change, a lot of personnel changes, but the thing about it is we changed with our service delivery too. We've become not just a fire department.
Right.
The days of just fighting fire are 1 or 2% of the time what we do. The rest of the time is we're community oriented with a service delivery for the needs of the community.
Right, so basically you're saying the fire department is a lot more diverse now than it have been in the last 10 or 20 years.
We have to become diverse not only to compete, but also to actually offer a service delivery that the citizens recognize. And I think our citizens do recognize what we do.
And to get specific on that as to what it means to to the local citizenry. 20 years ago, we didn't man every engine with advanced life support capabilities with trained paramedics. It's a whole new level of service, and we're able to provide that to our citizens and hopefully save some lives and help some people in the process.
Right.
Our insurance service office rating has gone from, I guess 20 years ago, it hadn't yet become a 3.
No, it was a 5.
It was a 5. It shortly thereafter became a 3, and just a few years ago was upgraded to a 2. And what that means is at a level 2 rating, the fire department is evaluated by what's called the insurance service office,
Right.
Which basically rates the risk to lives and property in a population that's being responded to by a particular fire department. That rates our fire department within the top 0.75% of the fire departments in the country.
Yes.
And that's quite an accomplishment.
It sure is, and that's not an easy accomplishment to make either.
No, again, less than 1 out of every 100 fire departments in the country has attained that level of expertise.
Yeah. Well, that is something that the citizens of LaGrange can really be proud of, to know that they have a department that's of that caliber and that can provide the services that we do. Even though we're not in a metro area, but we still do a great job in providing the service delivery that we can offer. Now, I want to talk about some improvements that's been made by the LaGrange Fire Department as well as the City of LaGrange after the last SPLOSH referendum was passed. I know SPLOSH has done some great things for us, so Chief, you want to start out by telling us some of the things
Sure.
that the fire department has benefited from?
The last SPLOSH allowed us to do some things that we've talked about over years. We're really in the position to make the changes right away, but we were allowed to move and relocate from our old station, used to be on Main Street in the middle of downtown,
Right.
which was a move that was made back in the 70s, late 70s, but it had some issues concerning accessibility with our road network. It allowed us to take that one station, split it into 2 different locations, and offer a better service and a better delivery to our citizens in the area. We allowed us to build a station in the south side off of South Davis Road and another station off the Moody Bridge Road side to the northwest.
Right.
So now we have 4 quadrants covered that converge middle to the middle of downtown.
Right. So basically now, instead of the stations having to go from within the city out, we can come from outside the city limits into and not, deal with so much congestion and railroad tracks, because that was an issue when we were downtown dealing with the railroad tracks. So.
Yeah, I can remember at the old station, if we had a call, say to the East Depot side, that we'd had to go north to get to the square and go down and go across Union Street just to get back to Depot because the train's coming. So
right, exactly.
We don't have those problems anymore. We have a good road network that converges to the middle now, and not very few obstacles we have to overcome. Okay.
And Tom, what are some benefits that the city have received?
Well, the majority of our SPLOST funds this past SPLOST were used on transportation enhancements. Folks have probably seen up on the north side of town, we completed the Franklin Forest Connector. There's a project that'll happen this spring that will extend that connector from its Franklin roadside to realign basically Wall Road, which serves as the north bypass, North Davis Road, all the way down to Lafayette Parkway. So everybody from Moody Bridge Road traveling on one road will be able to get all the way across to the interstate without having to go through that downtown Greenville, Morgan Street mess down there, particularly during rush hour. And then on the south side of town, we were able to use some dollars with some state assistance. We're currently in the process of extending Pegasus Parkway from its intersection with Whitesville Road 219 all the way around to the west side of town at 109. So that will create another basically east-west corridor, another way to get to the interstate if you're going that way without having to go through the middle of downtown LaGrange. Just about 15 minutes ago, I signed a contract for an extension of Lucan Industrial Boulevard from its intersection with Hamilton Road US 27 to carry it all the way out to South Davis Road, the bypass. And there's a sister project that's going to extend Lucan Industrial from its current termination point at West Point Road to extend out to the new Pegasus Parkway extension. So you'll create another east-west corridor through LaGrange to serve as an alternative to Vernon Road, which again will lessen traffic on Vernon and hopefully create a better experience for trying to get around LaGrange. by our residents. That and a whole host of maintenance resurfacing projects. We've gotten a lot of work done this summer and this fall, and look forward to finishing that up. But folks are going to see some pretty significant improvements over the next several months.
That's great. And of course, when you talk about road projects, that is something that's very important, because, you can't let the roads get too far out of whack, and need to, do what we can to make those necessary improvements. And like you said, all the other projects as far as the connectors, to keep from having, gridlock downtown with traffic.
And that's historically what we've had. So we're trying to find some ways to address that.
Right. Okay, good.
Also,
Yes.
on that note, is by moving our stations to the 4 locations, we're able to reduce response times
Okay.
significantly from 4 minutes and 53 seconds maybe 5 years ago to now 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And with the expansion of the road network, it could actually decrease it even more, because it allows us more flexibility from secondary units coming in.
All right. Okay.
Well, so and to that point, Chris, I see that EMT thing on your uniform. What does a minute and a half improvement in response time mean to somebody having chest pains?
It means a lot. It's the life and death situation, and being able to have that medical service provider to go out and provide those services that we do, like the fire department, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think that particular change has the potential certainly to save some lives.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. What are some of the management tools that are used in the decision-making process at the LaGrange Fire Department?
Okay, when I first started, I talked to you about the computerization and the records management.
Mm-hmm.
What it allows me to do, or anyone to do, is to track the responses that we go to, all the incident responses, whether it be medical, hazmat, false alarms, fires, car fires, you name it. I can track them by geographical location, time of day of week. I can actually do them by census tract to actually narrow the confines down, and that helps us determine where our target area is at. Mm-hmm. What target times of the year are that we need to be aware of situations that are going on, and maybe that's where you do a public education blitz in those particular areas there to make them more aware of fire safety and actually decrease the number of incidents we may have.
Right, and of course, when we're talking about fire safety or fire and life safety issues in general, we try to do the best that we can to use the resources available for us to get those messages out in the community, because, traditionally we've always been able to do group presentations or print media or radio, but, in today's technology world, we can utilize some of the other resources that are available out there to us and be more effective. And one in particular that I can think about is utilizing some of the resources that we have right here in the city. And one in particular that we hope that we'll be able to use as far as reaching out to the community is our local theater. Being able to put public safety messages in the theater, so that way when you're sitting there and you're watching your favorite movie and eating popcorn and drinking a drink, you can, before the movie starts, you get some safety messages that you can receive, not only for our community, but for visitors as well that come into our town.
And it can be specific to certain things we're doing here, or it can be something that changes by the season as well.
Right, exactly. Well, we're going to take a quick break, so when we come back, we're going to have more here on Smoke Signals with Tom and Chris, so stay tuned. Welcome back. We've been discussing topics concerning the LaGrange Fire Department and the City of LaGrange with Tom Hall and Chris Smith, and we have some other topics that we want to talk about this time. Now, let's talk about some other networking relationships that we have with agencies in the community, especially the emergency medical system. How does the LaGrange Fire Department interact with and support the EMS delivery system in LaGrange and the surrounding community?
Okay. We are a very vital component of an EMS delivery system. We offer a first responder service, which is an advanced life support first responder service. Been certified in that since the early 90s. And we've seen, like I said, our call volume change, but our percentage of calls that's related to medical calls have changed as well. 1991, say there was 1,235 calls for service all year long. 400 of them were related to medical.
Right.
You go to 2001, 2,700 calls for service during the entire year. 1,600 of them were medical. 2011, so far, we've already went on 3,000 calls already this year. and of those, 2,100 of those are medically related. So
Right.
we're anticipating a call volume of between 4,000 and 4,500 with a medical component of that, almost 3,500. So that's about 75 to 80% of our calls.
Right, and people are going to be ill. People are going to have to go to the hospital and things of that nature. But being able to have that first response service to go ahead and provide medical care to that patient, and then once an ambulance get there on the scene, we can just transfer that patient over and they can go to the hospital. That means a lot to our citizens and even visitors, because of course there's been many times I've been on calls where we had people who were just visiting here, and we had to provide a service to them, and that means a lot to them. And plus, that's a good word of mouth advertisement that we can get about the services that we provide here in the community.
Also, all 4 of our stations are ALS certified. We have 15 paramedics, 37 EMTs, 6 first responders who respond out for 24/7 every day. So that's 4 different ways we can respond to them and augment the EMS transport system that's provided by our local provider.
Okay. And Tom, anything that you can think of that you would like to add to
Well,
that?
as far as the fire department goes, one thing that we've really tried to do a good job on over the last several years is having a rational and sensible automatic aid agreement with the county as it relates to service delivery to citizens. A lot of citizens don't know and don't care whether they're technically in the corporate limits of LaGrange or in the unincorporated county. When they're sick or if their house is on fire, they want the first fire department available to come provide that service to them. And so we've worked hard with the county to try to make those invisible boundaries of jurisdiction go away. And we're doing a good job of fire station location right now. That's going to allow the city to grow in an orderly way. Ultimately, the county will be in a position to help us out with us having to add stations in the future. Right now, we're able to help them a little bit more in the areas around the city. But the good news for the citizens is they're not having to worry about who's going to be coming. The first engine company available is going to be at their doors shortly, and that's the goal we're working on.
Exactly. And one of the things to add to that one of my things that I stress is that when a person calls 911, okay, and they're asking for EMS service or fire service or what have you, they don't care what kind of education you have or how much training you've received in that month or anything of that nature. They want someone to come and provide a service to them based on our level of training and what we say in our mission that we're going to be able to provide, so that they can get the help that they need when that call is made.
It's all about service.
Exactly, and I think we do a great job in providing service. And yeah, there are improvements, because every service agency has to have ways of being able to improve based on where they are today. But I think we do a good job, and I think the improvement portion of it is something that's going to always be ever going.
And we've come a long way over the last 10, 15 years, even the last few years, in our relationship and working cooperatively with the county to try to find solutions that work to everybody's mutual benefit.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's talk about new programs. What new programs do we see on the horizon for the LaGrange Fire Department in terms of training, education, fire prevention, and suppression?
Okay, the biggest one we see in the area of fire prevention, I'll sort of hit them one at a time, in fire prevention, is the use of that technology base we talked about a while ago. I can see us envision us going to handheld computers where they sign in on the scene, get an automatic printout when they do an inspection, and that's a time-saving issue.
Right.
It becomes an efficiency issue when they're doing inspections. We're also seeing a trend in the fire service. It's called electronic monitoring of fire extinguishers when they go out of date or when they're timed to be serviced, and they can have it incorporated that way. We're seeing a lot of that in a lot of industries that they let us know when their time is running close.
Right.
In the training, we're going to see more interactive based training. We're going to see a lot more computer based and modeling in the way they do training. We're seeing, and what I project in the next couple of years, is some remote site training at the stations. When they ever have to leave to come to converge to one location, they can just remote it and broadcast it out and get that one-on-one context back.
Right.
And allow you, if you did that, what that does, it leaves you in your sites and your geographical territory, which again could lower your response times or there's a call for service during those times. Operationally, again, we're very community oriented. We're going to have enhanced territories to cover the service delivery. From education, you mentioned a marketing partnership possibly with the theater or with industry, private corporations. The one thing we haven't hit yet was enhancing our website to make it more interactive and user-friendly for the community.
Definitely, and that's a big tool for any agency to have, is a website where the general public can go to and pull information, even if it's nothing but just a telephone number to someone who can, answer a question or whatever the situation may be. But also being able to use that website to link other surrounding agencies, whether it be local, whether it be federal, whether it be state, and et cetera. So making the website user-friendly is a very important thing, and I think we're heading in the right direction by being able to do that as a fire department.
Right. And also the last thing is, from an administrative standpoint, and a lot of these things will be covered under this one context. It's called fire service accreditation. We're headed in that direction now. We're about a 2-year period, maybe less than that. We just had a meeting on it again this morning. We become fire service, we become accredited. That accreditation is going to cover the response times. It's going to cover the operational standards, the standards of care, the standards of operation. So everything's going to tie together within the next couple of years.
Okay, and I want to add to that, since we talked about programs and fire prevention. Of course, the month of October is Fire Prevention Month, and they have the National Fire Protection Association that recognizes the Fire Prevention Week, which is the 9th through the 15th. And of course, in that week's time, in a community, you can't reach everyone in the community in a week, so you have to expand it out. And what we'll be doing, we'll be going out and we'll be talking to kids at daycares, in the schools. We'll be doing programs with older adults. So, those are things that we reach out to the community on in the month of October. And even though we know we're not reaching everyone, but the goal is to reach those people who has access to the resources that we send messages to, and then they go out and share that information with people that we may not come in contact with.
Yeah, and just to understand, fire prevention is not a 1 month or a 1 week deal.
Right.
Fire prevention is a year-round deal that is constantly. You can't hit everyone in 1 week, much less 1 month.
Right.
Possibly not even in 12 months, but you can hit a majority.
Right. My motto is, every call that we go on, that is a fire prevention opportunity. Okay. Now, one other question that we want to touch, and this is going to give both of you an opportunity to kind of chime in. What are the future goals of the fire department and the City of LaGrange, and what resources are needed in order to achieve those goals? Tom, we'll start with you first.
Well, the city has been fortunate over the years. We do have, I believe, a very excellent level of service. My role is to make sure that continues, and basically to get you guys the resources you need around the whole of the city to make sure you can continue to do a good job and even improve upon that. And one of the major issues that's coming up that will involve the fire department to a large extent is the upcoming SPLOST referendum to renew the special purpose local option sales tax. That vote is scheduled for November the 8th of this year. Early voting starts mid-October. But in that SPLOST, specifically as it relates to the fire department, is that SPLOST will last for another 6 years, and in that span of time we'll have to replace another 2 fire pumpers. These are the first out everyday use piece of equipment. How much one of those things cost now, Chris?
Probably $450 now. To what it was.
Let's say 400,000. And we'll also need, amazingly, and I say amazingly, the thing's going to be 20 years old soon, but we're going to need a new aerial device. Right. That was actually one of the first big pieces of equipment I got when I became city manager, and we'll get 20 years of service out of it, but that's about right. What you expect out of a big piece of fire equipment. And we also have in there dollars to replace all the old analog portable radios and mobile radios, and that's right. Citywide. That's a lot of radios. Right. But we purchased those things, I think, back in 1996. They've served us well, but they are outdated now with the advent of digital technology, and so we're going to need to get that done. But all that, that SPLOST is very much in support of the efforts of our public safety department, and it's important that folks get out and vote their conscience on that.
Okay. All right. Chief, final word.
Final word is, we see a need in the future for an expansion, possibly. And Tom and I have talked about it, the possibility for another station in the northwest quadrant if our road network doesn't come through, say Mayotte Cameron Mill Road, somewhere in that area. That may be a future need. Also, upgrade our SCBA's from an old 2000 standard to now. But basically, set ourselves up for the future, set ourselves up to be able to handle any emergency that may come up in the future and be prepared for it.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to thank both of you again for being on the show today. You've provided a wealth of information concerning the LaGrange Fire Department and the City of LaGrange. We thank you once again for being here with us today. And we'd like to thank our viewers for taking time out to watch another segment of Smoke Signals. Until next time, take care.